Even though in my mind, the month of September acts as the actual start of the season of sports with the launch of the NFL season, things really begin to ramp up at the beginning of October. The NFL is in full swing as we begin to see the separation between those that are capable of making a deep playoff run or those whose challenges may hold them back this season. Even the NHL and NBA seasons are just a few weeks away from launching as well. But on today's episode, we connect with our resident MLB guru, Jorge Martín from FAMILIA FFB, as we discuss how Major League Baseball came out guns blazing with the launch of their playoff season last night. It was incredible. We hope you'll enjoy. October baseball. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So I have my guy Jorge, as you guys know, here. And even though I think I mentioned in the intro that September to me is the true start of the season of sports. That's when the NFL begins. It's right after NCAA football has begun. And I think it's an incredible time. And then after football gets its feet wet for the first 4 weeks or so, October just takes things and puts steroids on it. We have the beginning of Major League Baseball's playoffs. And this year is going to be exciting because we have such a short season last year. Football is in full swing, and October begins to be the month of separation in football. So crazy things are happening there. All kinds of shakeups in football at the college level, in the top 25. Crazy stuff's going on. Not to mention the storylines that we're all aware of with the start of the NHL and NBA season. So October is just completely off the chain. So I want to make sure that we pick Jorge's brain while we have him today. Let me read a couple things. Dodgers and Giants, such a long history. I forgot. It didn't compute to me because basketball is built differently and so is football. But the long history between Dodgers and Giants, they have never ever played before in a playoff game. That's kind of crazy to me. I bet you knew that stat, right? You definitely knew that stat.
Well, they've never played in the formal playoffs. They did have a best 2 out of 3 back in 1962, the opening year for Dodger Stadium, where both teams were 101 and 61 at the end of the season, and each one won one game, and the Dodgers were leading in Game 3 with a chance to go to the World Series against the Yankees. And Don Drysdale couldn't hold the lead, and they lost in the 9th inning. And just the inaugural season at Dodger Stadium, and just kind of wow. I mean, it was an amazing season. That was the year that Maury Wills stole 104 bases, and which was the record at that time, and was the MVP over Willie Mays, who hit 50 home runs that year. But
really,
in the formal playoffs, especially since 1969, since since they introduced the playoffs and then expanded them, more before, they haven't met, even though the Yankees and the Red Sox have met several times and in some epic series. And a lot of people have talked about the fact that has raised that rivalry from just being, a regional rivalry to a national rivalry. So I'm hoping that this is the start, because the Giants, I still don't know how they did it, because I keep looking at their team and I'm just like, how many of these guys are actually going to could actually play for the start for the Dodgers. But when I look at it, I'm just kind of like, they're there. I think they're going to be around for a while.
It's interesting on that point. The reason why I want to expound on that, my roommate from college attended a high school called De La Salle High School up in the San Francisco Bay Area. De La Salle High School holds the record in the nation for the longest college high school football win streak. And if you take a look at the people, they have some pros. They have a lot of people that have now played in the NFL, but De La Salle, even in those great runs, they were never necessarily seen as the school with a bunch of blue chippers. They were just the most disciplined, hard-nosed football team. So they would smoke the Northern California area. And then they would come down here in Southern California a bit because we have so many more people down here population-wise. we just had pods and pockets of massive, great football programs all over the place. Whether it was Long Beach Poly in the LA area, whether it was our old school Alemany and Crespi and Notre Dame, or you go down to Orange County and you have the Mater Deis and Orange Lutheran at one time. You have all these great, and Servite, St. John Bosco. De La Salle would hang with them all the time. And there was a time 20 years ago or so, De La Salle was, I think, ranked in the top 10 in the nation. But the number one team in the nation at the time was the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits. And they supposedly had 4 or 5 D1 blue chippers on their team. One of them was Mercedes. He still plays in the league. Big tight end.
Mercedes Lewis.
Mercedes Lewis was on that team. He led that team, and they had 4 or 5 other guys like Mercedes Lewis. De La Salle had Maurice Jones-Drew on their team. He was their one guy.
MJD.
And they played down here. And I remember it was on television. It was a nationally televised game. And this is 20 years ago. And everyone's thinking, man, I know that running back from De La Salle is great. But Long Beach Poly has all these guys. No one knew those guys except somewhat for MJD. And De La Salle they beat the mess out of Long Beach Poly in that game. It was interesting. That's what reminds me of the Giants and Dodgers this year. Dodgers have arguably the most talented roster. Not arguably. I think every analyst has said tip to tip, bullpen, you name it. Every bit on the Dodgers team, they have the best talent-laden team in Major League Baseball this year. But Giants, to me, they're representing De La Salle. Dodgers down in LA are representing Long Beach Poly. And so I'm, as a Dodger fan, a huge fan of the Dodgers. I'm really concerned about playing the Giants here in the first, 107 games the Giants won. I'm assuming it's a record for, is it a club record? 107 wins for the Giants?
I think it is. It's not for the Dodgers. The Dodgers won 100. I think it was 108 in Brooklyn one year in the early 50s with with Campanella, Robinson, Pee Wee Reese, those guys, Duke Snyder. But
the one record the Dodgers did cross over on is the Dodgers. They won more games this season than any returning Major League Baseball champion ever. So that's one of the things. But will it even matter? Because last night, who cares what that record was if St. Louis would have won? So here's some things I want to throw at you, and I'd love to get your reaction. Let's keep it rolling. Giants won a franchise record of 107 games. The Dodgers won more games this season than any returning champion has ever won. This will be the first ever postseason matchup between the Dodgers and Giants, outside of what you had stated earlier, that runoff that they had a few decades ago. The two teams combined for 213 regular season wins, which is the most all time. The Giants won the season series 10-9 against the Dodgers. The Dodgers are have the best record of any team ever not to win their division. And also, the Dodgers with this record would have won the American League Central by 13 games and the National League East by 18 games. Those things are crazy to me. So, and also, stakes are raised here. The Giants snapped the Dodgers' streak of 8 straight National League West crowns, which I like that. That actually, not that we didn't win it, but I like that it adds more to the story that's going to make it. And most people, most pundits, as they call them, they had the San Diego Padres in this spot, not the Giants, and to be joining us. And it's unfortunate about the. So that's segment one. Go off on any of those points if you'd like, or have me repeat any of them. What do you think about any and all of that?
Well, number one, I want to talk about, the Padres. I feel awful for them. I have some friends in the Padre organization. I really thought they were going to be great, but they ran out of pitching. Their pitching just got so banged up. The Dodgers being the team that won 106 games and not making the playoffs. I mean, not winning the division. It's utterly extraordinary. It's really, it shows you how rare it is. I mean, I mean, when you look at some of the other teams in the division, the other teams being the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, they're not very good teams. So the Dodgers definitely got fat off of them. But yes, so did. But they also beat up on the Padres and the Dodgers. It's funny. The Dodgers and Giants. You mentioned 10-9, 10 wins for the Giants, 9 for the Dodgers. They were tied up until I think it might have been the Sunday of Labor Day weekend, somewhere in early September was the last time the Dodgers played the Giants, and it was Walker Buehler pitching against a bullpen game for San Francisco, and Buehler didn't have it that day, and that was the difference. That if the Dodgers win that game, they end up with 107 wins, the Giants end up with 106, and we don't have to deal with that stress from last night. But I will say it was special. I mean, I think there were some fantastic moments. I think anytime you can win with Max Scherzer not having his best stuff, I think is wonderful. I think the bullpen really showed up, and Chris Taylor, it was fantastic. Here's an interesting tidbit about last night. When Cody Bellinger walked with 2 outs and then stole second, that is the exact same scenario as Game 1 of the 1988 World Series, when Mike Davis walked with 2 outs, stole second, and then they came up, and then Kirk Gibson hit the famous home run. So they didn't need both runs in this case. Right. In that case with Dodgers and A's in 1988, they did need both runs because the Dodgers were trailing. But I mean, just fascinating parallels. I think last night was a great test for the Dodgers to be able to come, kind of be dominated by a pitcher who's not that great, who had a great season. But I mean, as I was going back and forth with a big time Reds fan the other day, it was like, no, he looked cooked in 2016. So he being Adam Wainwright,
right, correct. Adam Wainwright.
But it's just, it was such a special victory, and it's going to be such a special series. I think this one is actually, where both teams are pretty strong is in the bullpens, and I think that's where this series is going to be won. I still think the Dodgers are better because they have the better talent in the everyday roster, but yeah, I think we're going to see how much the loss of Max Muncy and Clayton Kershaw. I mean, both two very Muncy the hitter, Kershaw the pitcher. It's going to be very interesting how the Dodgers bounce back from that.
On that note, I actually think, not to really compare them, but just stating something I believe to be fact, is that I think it's going to be much worse, the loss of Muncy. I think the Dodgers pitching bench is so deep, starters and relievers, anyone else to come in. I think that they'll do whatever they have to do over whatever series they're able to stay and win. But Muncy, man, that whole thing, and people are pushing him already. And from his answer of, we'll see, maybe the divisional series, maybe the World Series. Exactly. You're saying, no, that was my first thought. I looked when he said that. I'm like, he's done. He's not coming back.
And if he does, he's going to be compromised. He had a dislocated elbow that they popped in while he was on the field. I mean, you don't just,
and he said,
just recover from
I couldn't feel my arm. It felt like my arm wasn't even there. He even stated that. So I think he's done. So that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. The only negative about this portion of the playoffs is I don't like the fact that it's just a 5-game series. I would prefer that it's a 7-game series. And we'll talk a little bit more, hopefully, maybe at the end of this episode, but you and I had discussed some of the things earlier in an episode at the beginning of this current season, how we wanted how there's so many new things coming up for the league and the unions to discuss. And I'm thinking, with what happened last night, why don't you build on that and just fire up more games for the playoffs? You have 3 runs in the playoffs. So to me, why not get more people on, more television revenue? It's still early enough in the football season to where you can market this differently, market it enough to where you can have a strong showing and not be overshadowed by football. So I actually think it would be a great idea if they bumped up this first level of playoffs from best 3 out of 5 to 4 out of 7. Your thoughts as well. I take you agree.
Well, I think one of the things that's going to happen, I think they're going to expand the playoffs and expand it to 16 teams. So eight per side. And then I think they're going to take the wild card and turn it into a best 2 out of 3. So that's what the owners were kind of pushing for, before the season, to try and get it this year, because they want more revenue. They want the ad revenue for playoff games is just through the roof. So
everyone would benefit, the audience as well.
I think that would be one thing, and I think the universal DH will mean no more
yes, please,
no more pitchers hitting. So I think we're done with that one.
I want Albert Pujols to play another 5 years. Let him come up and just bat. Why not? I mean, it's exciting because he can still hit the ball for the next 5 years. Don't put him in the field. It's kind of painful to watch him on the field, man. So
especially against left-handers. Left-handers are just. I mean, he kills them. He kills them. So I'm hopeful that he keeps it going. But I think it would happen only if the DH is happening.
I agree. We're going to touch on that on our season wrap-up episode as well. Let's move on to, St. Louis had to win. They had to go on a crazy 17-game win streak just to enter this all-in one-game playoff. If you go by the regular season, the Cardinals, they were considered the biggest underdog in Major League Baseball history. They said at the beginning of August they had less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs. And yet here they are playing against arguably the best team, the most talented team in all of Major League Baseball this year. So the Yankees and Red Sox, they finished with identical records. The Dodgers playing the Cardinals also was another record for the biggest gap in Major League Baseball, for biggest gap between two wildcard teams. The previous mark was 6 games. Yeah, it was 16 games. 16 games.
16. God, amazing.
That was intense, and I think the Cardinals. Do you think it was more the Cardinals played well, or was the Dodgers not necessarily doing what they needed to do in the game last night?
No, I think the Cardinals played well. They're the best defensive team in Major League Baseball this year. So that's gonna save you. I mean, they turned a double play on Trey Turner, one of the fastest guys in the National League. So I think that makes any team a factor into the postseason. It's totally
that's awesome.
That made it worth watching. I didn't care about the record so much. I was watching because I didn't get to see them play too much this year, but just watching them, I'm like, these guys were 16. Oh, well, we were exceptional, so 106 games. So, but still, I'm thinking maybe 8 games, 10 games back. These guys weren't as bad as people, to me, seeing them for the first time this season. They weren't as negative. Odds to win up front. They were, I think, going into the playoffs, the Cardinals were 2,200, plus 2,200. Dodgers, of course, were the favorites with plus 400. And that was the gap that was achieved last night for a 1-run win. Let's move on to Chris Taylor. 4th player in Dodger history with the walk-off home run in a playoff game. And he joins, remember Aaron Boone? He joins Aaron Boone as the only players to ever hit a walk-off home run in a wild card game. What do you think about that?
Wow. I mean, all I was rooting for was I just texted somebody. I'm like, just give me a single just give me a single. And I think we win. And then all of a sudden he hit it and it went.
Just kept going.
I'm thrilled for him because he came into the postseason. I think I heard a stat this morning, like 8 for his last 70. I mean, that's horrible. That's like, $110 or something like that. So he needed that one. He needed the confidence boost because the fact that, with Muncy out there is the possibility that he's going to play more. He's either going to play, he could definitely play some center field and somebody can, like a Bellinger can move to first base. Just an incredible asset for the team. Just an incredible asset for the team. I think I'm more pumped and confident with a 3-game series against the Giants playing it on the road than I am a single elimination playing on the road.
Okay. That's, I think I feel that way as well. Either way, the Giants, as a Dodger fan, I'm really concerned. Yes, they are a problem.
I hope that the Dodgers can get to their starting pitching, because I think that's their weakness right now. They've had a lot of guys pitching out of their minds this year, so I'm hoping that they can actually, steal a game up in San Francisco and then win 2 in a row down here, and then that's it.
So
let's hope they can steal one game up there. So I'm with you. Let's move on to something else that happened. Actually, before we move on from there, you had mentioned certain people that needed to step up a second ago, and I actually think that I've watched the past 2-3 months coming back from injury that Bellinger was having a tough go at things. So I actually hope that last night's insertion and being a part of that at the end is going to help him out, especially with Muncy out.
I think so. I am worried about Bellinger for the rest of these playoffs, because the fact that he had surgery on his front shoulder. And about 8 or 9 years ago, I remember Adrian Gonzalez talking about having surgery on his front shoulder. And he talked about the fact that he didn't have full strength back until that second season, the second full season coming back from the surgery. So I think that's what Bellinger is dealing with right now. He just doesn't have the normal power. He's swinging. He's doing things that are normal, but they're not, that he wants them to feel normal, and it's not. And I really think it just comes down to the strength factor, because they're not allowed to train the way they normally would. So I look at him. I look at him as just kind of like, I'm hoping he just becomes a good defensive player for us. And it was great the way he worked those walks in that series. But yeah, I definitely want to see. I want to see him get healthy, and it's probably not going to be till 2022.
That's unfortunate, but still has speed, great speed. I mean, that's how he still made it. He's still great in the outfield, so he can still be a tremendous asset for the Dodgers. It's interesting, that play with Chris Taylor, CT3, what they call him, like CP3, right? So Chris Taylor comes through, and it's interesting because I actually loved both wild card games. I thought what happened with the Yankees and the Red Sox, you have their big, the Bronx Bombers up at bat. You have Judge first. He gets on base. Big old giraffe guy. He's a big, strong dude, as we all know. I love that guy. And then you have Giancarlo Stanton. He comes up and almost bests the Green Monster. But former Dodger Kike Hernandez picks up the scrap, bounce off the monster, hits the cutoff man, and they catch Judge as he's trying to slide to the side. You tie that with Taylor's last-second home run, and as much as I agree with you that I want the playoffs expanded, the level of excitement that came out of the first 2 wild card games, to me, it's going to be hard for them to get rid of that because of that. I mean, that was great stuff. That led, which is rare that baseball, honestly, the last 10 years or so leads as far as Sports Center and things of that nature. They couldn't get enough of it on Tuesday night and Wednesday night. The Red Sox, legendary clubs playing each other, right? Legendary rivalry, the Red Sox and the Yankees. Great ending to their game. Dodgers, and the last 25 years or so, the Cardinals are as good as they get. I mean, they're one of the top dogs. So 2 great organizations playing with a walk-off win. So both wild card games are great, even though you and I would like to see the playoffs expanded. Let's move on to Justin Turner. Something came across my mind last night. You've heard me say a lot of times already that how much I think sports fans today, it doesn't matter the sport, are already too much prisoner of the moment. We always, this happened last night, so it's the greatest thing ever in football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. Justin Turner, to me, this quiet, just not chopping wood, just year after year. Local boy, does good. He's from the LA area. Dodgers were his team. This guy gets up, he knocks in the home run that really, I think, helped the Dodgers to actually believe more than anything, because I think they were in the middle of the game going, are we going to be able to shake these Cardinals? Like they couldn't shake the Cardinals, right? We have this roster. They don't. We can't get rid of these guys. Turner comes up with his little weird, setup and cracks it. He set a record last night for the Dodgers, franchise record. I love the fact that Turner extended his franchise leading playoff home run record to 13 was amazing to me. A stat I didn't know. Biggest players, people are considered the biggest players when they come up big in the big moments, right? That when it's needed. So obviously this guy is that guy the past 5 years. We have all these other big names, but how is it, say if something happened and this guy retires today? He's a longtime Dodger. He holds several records now, important records, as a Dodger. Do you think we should be discussing this guy as a Dodger all-time great with the likes of Koufax, Drysdale, Valenzuela? Ooh, that gave my boy a little bit of a tough one.
That's tough. I actually had this conversation with a good friend recently who tried to put Justin Turner above Steve Garvey in like the all-time greats pecking order, and I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. We are the same age, so we all had Steve Garvey among our favorite players, if not our favorite player when we were 9-10 years old. I know that was definitely the case with me, and I just don't. I'm not ready to put Justin Turner there. He is a postseason freak. He hits good pitching, and those are the guys that you want. You want the guys who hit good pitching and don't strike out. Justin Turner is a stud that way.
He's that guy.
So I look at so he is really good. If he has, so it was funny. I was at a game in 2017, playoff game. My good friend Mike Kay invited me to the game. It was his birthday, and it also happened to be the anniversary of Kirk Gibson hitting the famous home run in Game 1 of the World Series. And that night, Justin Turner hit a walk-off home run against the Cubs to put them up 2-0, and they eventually swept this. I think they won it 4 out of 5. I look at that one. I look at him. If he has more moments like that, if he has 1 or 2 more moments like that, and continues to be a great player, I think then you got to talk about him as an all-time great Dodger. Though I'm still putting Ron Cey ahead of him in the all-time list for third baseman. He's still Brooklyn and LA. Ron Cey is still the man.
Okay. That was, I like that response. That was some good stuff. So you're not ready to put him up there yet. Because sports fans, I just wanted to play devil's advocate, being the guy who would be prisoner of the moment for that moment. And so I get where you're coming from. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Let's move on to back-to-back World Series champions. 14 teams have done it in history. Only 14 teams have done it, being able to repeat the World Series. The most recent being the 2000 Yankees. I think they wrapped up 3 in a row. They wrapped up 3 wins in a row.
And almost did 4.
Almost did 4, correct.
2001, they were leading Game 7 in the 9th inning, and Luis Gonzalez hit a 2-run single to win the game.
Well, as incredible as that is, think about it. Yankees, Blue Jays, which surprised me, by the way. Here are the 14 teams. 14 Yankees, Blue Jays. I'll put the last year. So Yankee that ended their consecutive run. Yankees 2000, Blue Jays 93, Yankees 78. The Big Red Machine. I remember those guys. They used to scare me. 76. The Oakland A's. This is one I think people forget the rich history from the A's. Even when they were back in in Philadelphia, they were great. So the A's 3 straight, ending in 74. The Yankees in 62. The Yankees again. Yankees in 53. That was 5 straight for the Yankees in 53. 4 straight for the Yankees in 39. And then the Philadelphia A's, the Oakland A's came from Philly. People didn't know that. In 1930, the Yankees in 28, the Giants. So this was obviously when they were in New York in 22. The Red Sox in 16, not 2016, 1916. And the A's again in 1911. And the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs in 1908. They were the last team to do it.
And that's incredible. That was the last time they won before 2016.
Exactly. That's why people freaked out when they did it. So let's jump right on to brackets. So I want to get your opinion on the brackets right now, and we're putting it on tape, so you and I have to be very aware of it. So let me run down for you exactly what's of interest to me, or the way I see it going. Looking on the National League side, Boston won their wild card, so they're going to face the Tampa Bay Rays. As I said in an episode you and I did at the start of this season, I felt that the Tampa Bay Rays overall are the scariest team in all of baseball. I don't want to face them at all. When I saw the Dodgers, eke out a win last year over the Rays, I was uneasy that whole series. And it's even more so than I am right now against the Giants, because I'm like, who the heck are these guys? Who are these guys? And they're all young. They're all very young. So I'm like, wow. And I think I remember saying to you at that time, well, the plus side is they're the American League's problem before we get a chance to get at them again in the finals. So I'm like, they can go beat up they can go beat up everybody on the American League side. Hopefully the Yankees and everyone else can take them down a few notches before we even get a chance to get to them. So here are my picks. Tampa Bay against the Red Sox. I think Tampa Bay is going to win. I don't know how many games. I'm not going to bet that. The White Sox versus the Astros. I'm actually selecting the White Sox in this one. I think they're another team like the Giants where people aren't discussing too much about them as being the guy. I think that the White Sox can prevail. San Francisco, LA. Go ahead. No, San Francisco, LA, my Dodgers. And not just as an emotional plea, but I actually think the Dodgers will come through. And last but not least, I have Milwaukee over Atlanta. Move on to the next round. I think Tampa Bay will take care of the White Sox. I think that the Dodgers will take care of Milwaukee, so that we're going to have a repeat of last year. Of course, I'm going to select my Dodgers to win, but the Tampa Bay Rays, I think, even though what's the Rosarena? What's the young kid? Rosarena. A year better, but he had some problems this year. So, but they're still great. So I have the Dodgers playing Tampa again. And I have the Dodgers prevailing. Let's go down with you. So Tampa Bay, Boston. Who would you select?
I'm going the Rays. The Rays are the Rays may be the most complete team, and they've got a young budding superstar, not just in a Rosarena, but Wander Franco is a stud.
Fantastic. White Sox, Astros.
It's my pick for the best series. Two very evenly matched teams. This one's going to go down in Game 7. Both have great bullpens. Mm-hmm. To me, the difference maker is the Astros are a team that does not strike out a lot. Mm-hmm. Those are usually the teams that do very well in October because you've got the best pitching. So I'm taking the Astros in 7 games.
Awesome.
In 5 games on that one.
In 5 games, okay. And Dodgers Giants. Give me your Dodgers. Okay, cool. That's an easy one.
The Dodgers. It's going to be tough because the Dodgers don't have Clayton Kershaw for this series, mm-hmm. and he's already been ruled out for the entire playoffs. He mm-hmm. is, their 4th pitcher now becomes Tony Gonsolin, which mm-hmm. means that Dave Roberts is not going to play around with pulling him. So, mm-hmm. At the first sign of trouble. So I think, I love the other 3 starters, Scherzer, Buehler, and Urias. All 3 of them mm-hmm. are Cy Young candidates. I think mm-hmm. that's going to be the big difference maker in this series. I think those guys are going to step forward.
I agree. Last grouping, the Atlanta Braves versus Milwaukee.
The Milwaukee has some extraordinary pitching. They did get a big blow to their bullpen because Devin Williams in the celebration broke his hand, punching a wall. I don't know how you're punching. I don't know why you're punching a wall. I actually put on Twitter the other day. I said Devin Williams needs to watch Bull Durham because there's the famous scene where
I remember that.
Where Crash Davis says, "You don't hit a drunk with your pitching hand. Haven't I taught you? Haven't I taught you anything?" So I said, you don't hit a drunk and you don't punch a wall with your pitching hand.
You don't punch a wall. Exactly.
I think they've got a great pitching. I am actually impressed with what the Braves did considering the losses that they had. Ronald Acuna is top 3, at worst top 5 player in all of baseball. blows out his ACL in July, and they still win the division. They also had Marcelo Ozuna get suspended because of domestic violence. They lost those two guys. They went out and got replacements, and here they are in October with a great shot at playing playing against the Brewers. But I'm still taking the Brewers to win.
Okay, that's great stuff. Next round, Tampa Bay, White Sox. Oh no, Tampa Bay or White Sox or the Astros. You said that will go 7 games.
I said Astros in that one. And this one I'm doing this one a little bit with my heart because the Astros took the Rays to 7 games last year. And I love Dusty. Dusty's forever going to be one of my guys. I want to see that, and I think it would be incredibly intriguing to see Dodgers and Astros again in the World Series. I think that would just be, if you're not going to have Dodgers and Yankees, Dodgers and Red Sox, give me the Astros, give me the intrigue, give me the basura, and you know what I'm talking about, basura. Exactly, I want the trash can. Bang, 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 bang.
Yes. That actually would make. I'd like to see that. Just for interest level, even though I don't think the Astros can get by the Rays, if they do get by the Sox, I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Sox, even though I selected the Sox. The Rays just have the Astros number for some reason, I believe. I think they have this mental edge over them, but that would be great if if the Dodgers were able to play them. Storylines galore. That would be fantastic. Next level. Dodgers versus, you selected the Milwaukee Brewers. So obviously you'd select the Dodgers. So for the most part, you would like to see the Dodgers in the World Series. You expect them to be in the World Series, not just like them, but you expect them to be in the World Series versus either Tampa Bay or Houston.
Right.
That's the way you see it? Okay, Tampa Bay or Houston.
And I'm still saying Tampa. Houston and the Dodgers in the World Series.
Okay, Houston.
And I think Dodgers and Brewers is going to be a great series.
Houston for Jorge. Okay, cool.
All right. We'll circle back and see how those things have played out. Last thing I want to go over real quick. We've covered a lot. Can you think of anything you think you'd like to impart to the audience moving forward that we should be aware of going into these playoffs, things you think that would be interesting to watch, potential record setting, or just flat out entertaining? I think I said that at the beginning, but those two things.
Well, this is going to be the best baseball of the whole year. These are the best teams. These are the best pitchers. I think you're going to see great pitchers duels. I think one of the things that I'm happy to see the extra innings with the runner on second base is not going to continue during the playoffs. It's just
correct.
Playing,
right.
It's just going to be straight baseball. So you could. So last night's game could have gone a long time. I think it's. The Dodgers the Dodgers are the most battle-tested team. They've won their fair share of elimination games. Last year, they came back from 3-1 against the Braves. And the Astros came back from 3-0 against the Rays. So there's plenty of intrigue there. It's really, I'm trying to think of what records maybe come, if there are any records that may be coming up. I know Justin Turner is, is going up there with a lot of postseason series up there with all-time great hitters in Dodger history, mostly because he's played so many more games than them. I'm trying to think, there's the two guys to keep an eye on, Max Scherzer and Corey Seager. They're both going into their free agency years. So Seager is back to being hot. Does he have another incredible October last year? Max Scherzer, he closed the season with 2 wobbly starts. Yesterday could be seen as a wobbly start. Is he back to who he was? And the other thing is, how do Walker Buehler and Julio Urias, when they have pitched more this season than they ever have in their careers, how do they continue on? And because Julio was going to be the one who's going to coming in if that game went to 10 innings. So so there's that one. And the other thing, and it sounds cliche, but it's always going to happen. It's going to come down to the bullpens. The bullpens are, and who's got great bullpens? Yeah, Atlanta. I mean, really, everybody's got a good bullpen right now. Houston and the White Sox have two of the best bullpens in baseball. So that one, I think that's going to be a crazy series. There could be some long extra inning games in there, but yeah, it's really whose bullpen doesn't blink. And it's whoever's bullpen stays bulletproof and they don't blink. I think that's going to be one to see, and that's where it's going to be won.
That's good. That's great stuff. Actually, I'm looking forward to the game. So I think the first game begins tomorrow or is it today?
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock our time.
Oh, okay, cool. So today we're recording this on the 7th of October. 2021. So
yeah, today
this is going to be fun.
Today is all the American League, the two games that feature in the American League. Tomorrow will be 4 games. 4 games all. They're
playing back to back in the American League.
Oh yeah, they're playing back to back, and then the National League plays its games. The Dodgers are playing at 6:30 tomorrow evening. They're going to be the last game, and then Saturday the National League has it to themselves. With the Dodgers again playing, and then Sunday it'll be the American League by themselves, and then I'm sorry, Sunday will be the American League by themselves, and then Monday back to 4 games. So gotta love it.
Sunday's going to be incredible because you have the separation games, like I said, in October in the NFL, and baseball. They can't shy away from it. They just got to go for it. They just have to just go. It's Sunday. It's like, yeah, you probably won't get the eyeballs, but I think you'll get enough. I think that's what I liked about the wild card games. I think they did generate some interests into the fans, and I do think that created more interest in fans to at least peek into some of these games. Because football, there's so many great storylines of football right now, which is great, and we'll talk about that more. But October, the old Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. And that whole thing coming up.
Yeah, in my heart.
That's a hard one.
78.
Yep. I don't even want to go over that anymore because it was always our Dodgers on the bad end of that stuff. So
no.
But we're gonna come back. We're definitely gonna do another episode at the beginning of when the World Series comes back, because Jorge and I will then take another quick look and see how our brackets wrapped up. How we progressed in our brackets, and that'll be fun. And then we'll do a season wrap up after the World Series. But I love this time. I love the fact that if you're a true sports fan, even if you just enjoy sports at a high at a medium level, it's getting cooler outside. You can just start making some comfort food, snack on baseball games, college football, NFL. The NBA is ramping up again. NHL is back. It's fantastic. So you guys hang tight. We'll catch up with you guys within a month or so. What do you think? Before the World Series will take about 4 weeks for them to go to the next 2?
Yeah, sometime around Halloween. Maybe right after Halloween is when it's supposed to be done.
Fantastic. We'll catch up with everybody then. Appreciate Jorge as usual. Always coming and filling us with challenging thoughts, things I never think about. As a fan, you get so myopic. You become so myopic, caught up in your own, well, this is, as I said before, the whole prisoner of the moment thing. And he always offers so much information that allows me to think. And hopefully for you guys as well. You should think about it. All right, guys. We will see you guys soon. Thank you guys for joining us.
Salud, everybody.